like a shark because she's barely out of the frame, so it's just like her head.
Oh, really?
She's such a shark. What are you doing? What are you doing?
He's like,
yeah. It's like, I don't know if that's how she like feels things. Is she just like has to put them in her mouth? She's like biting. Good girl. PTC Cast episode 6. Today we're going to talk about the optimal training split. All kinds of training splits.
push pull or all kinds?
All kinds. We're going to talk about all of them.
Oh.
Or every obvious one, I guess.
Okay.
What's your training split?
Mondays will either be heavy squats.
Okay, wait, rewind.
Yes.
Is this like always your training split? Is this your current block?
This is always my training split.
Okay.
Maybe it'll change in the future.
Okay.
But it alternates heavy squats or heavy deadlifts on Mondays.
Okay.
So it alternates every week. And then on Wednesdays, it's heavy bench. On Thursdays, it's Thursdays or Fridays, depending on how I feel. It's heavy back. And then on Saturdays, it's light bench.
Okay.
Which is usually just speed and
that kind
like
of
triceps and shoulders.
Accessory work too.
Yeah. It's like maintenance stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then you rest Sunday, and then that way you're ready for your heavy lift Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And I make sure on that Saturday not to be too taxing because, I have to.
You're trying to save some gas.
Exactly. And there's sometimes, that is like my normal split, but there's sometimes where I may have to take away that Saturday workout completely.
Just to give yourself that time.
Yeah, because, when I was bigger.
So you're lifting 4 days a week then?
Exactly.
Okay.
3 to 4 days. Sometimes I'll take out that 4th day.
Okay.
Depending on my recovery. And that's just because I need to make sure that I'm, fully recovered for that Monday squat day. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So right now for me on Tuesdays, I'm training arms. On Thursdays, I'm training back and biceps.
Mm-hmm.
On Fridays, I'm training chest, shoulders, and triceps. And on Sundays, I'm training legs.
So 4 days also?
Yes, also 4 days. The reason I have it spaced out like that is honestly just to be around work. Because Monday and Wednesday are my busiest training day. I usually do between 9 and 11 sessions on that day.
Dang.
So
how many hours is it?
9 to 11 hours.
Oh, okay.
But
so there is no
with work commute too, yeah, for sure. With work commute too, it's a long day. But no, so yeah, that's honestly the reason it's spaced out like that is just for work's sake. And the only reason I have a dedicated arm day is that's my focus. That's what I'm trying to bring up, right? And so that's that's one of the biggest things in this split discussion is it's what's your goal, right? Because if you're powerlifting, you probably need to be hitting one of the big 3 at least once a week.
Exactly,
whereas if you're bodybuilding, you might need an entire day dedicated to one specific muscle group or the kind of thing you're trying to pull up or bring up. And that, like personally, I always place that day around my rest day. So if Monday and Wednesday are my rest day, boom, I'm plotting arms right in the middle. Which even though that might not be as taxing as a deadlift day or a squat day, like I need to be sure I'm 100% fresh for that, and then I'm 100% recovered from that moving into my next
Because that's
workout.
what you're mostly trying to optimize.
Right, that's my focus is bringing up my arms. Right. So my goal for this upcoming show was to have the best arms in my class.
Got you.
So that's essentially what I'm trying to pound on Tuesdays.
Got you. So whenever you're structuring those days, it's pretty much based around what you want to recover for most.
Right. So yeah. So let's say we could be a different scenario. Maybe you're someone who has more bodybuilding goals, and you're trying to bring up your chest. Maybe you would do chest twice a week, since it's I just said I'm doing arms twice a week with a dedicated day, biceps one day, triceps another day. But let's say, it's chest, like then maybe you're going chest on Mondays and chest on Thursdays, and then you're sprinkling everything else in between. So I don't think there is a best split. I don't think there's a most optimal split. I think it's tailoring it around your goals and figuring out what works best for you. You can, most people, I would say, like if you have a body part you're trying to bring up, you need to hit it at least twice a week.
Yeah, I think so too.
For sake of optimal stimulation, but also for sake of practicing that movement pattern.
That's so freaking important.
Yeah, that's something that I think is really underrated in the fitness and wellness space is not only form, but the actual skill that form takes. The way I describe it to clients is like each exercise is its own golf swing, right? So you could take a dude that's 150 pounds and a dude that's 250 pounds, but they're playing golf, right? And let's say both these guys are playing golf, and the 250 pound guy, first time ever playing golf. 150 pound guy, been playing golf for 10 years. Who's gonna hit the ball farther?
The 150
pound guy at a time. Yeah, and so that's not it's not of course your raw strength matters and your raw output matters, but it's an efficiency thing. It's a skill competence thing. You know, it's why like the first time someone tries a lunge, they're all over the place. But you get to even that second time, like, okay, the balance is kind of there now. Like it's each exercise is its own skill. So like if someone's trying to bring up a lagging body part, typically where I default to is, you know, we said chest earlier. And let's say for this individual, dumbbell press is going to be a really good option to bring up their chest. But we're going to dumbbell press twice a week. And that's not only for sake of stimulation of the pecs, but for practicing that movement. So that way, every time you dumbbell press, you're better at dumbbell pressing. You're getting more out of your dumbbell press. Because you could dumbbell press with your shoulders. You could dumbbell press with your triceps or your serratus. You could dumbbell press, you could figure out a way to do it with your lats if you were, you know, if you didn't care enough. And so that's the thing is it's like, you have to optimize that skill first. And the same way that kind of works in the powerlifting world would be like, you know, let's say you have a great squat and a great deadlift, but your bench sucks. You better be benching twice a week, man.
That's so funny that you say that because I'm in that exact situation.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, so...
And you're benching twice a week.
Yeah, exactly. Going back a little bit, I also forgot to say on that Thursday or Friday where I do my upper back, I'll also hit lower body accessories like leg press and then leg extensions and leg curls. But
well, are you doing like RDLs on that day or anything like that?
Yeah, I do RDLs too.
So if you're already doing some hip extension stuff on that day, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So as a powerlifter, you know, you have those three main lifts and just like you said, since I want to get good at all three of those, I hit all three of those 2 times a week. Now, I'm not hitting those at the exact same intensity, you know, both days that I hit them. I hit them at a high intensity and an extremely low intensity on those other days.
But that low intensity is you could almost look at it as practice.
Yeah, that's exactly why. It's specifically for practice. And then I tailor my, you know, exercise choice to benefit the actual movement. Like, so with squats, or let's say with deadlifts, instead of doing deadlifts twice a week, what I'll do is deadlifts, you know, the first time, and then the second time I'll do pause leg press. And what that does is that helps explosion off of the floor. And I'll do hamstring curls. That helps me, you know, get the weight from the bottom of my shins past my knees. And I'll do things to help that lift without actually doing that lift a second time, just because of recovery.
Right, and you're exactly right. That's a stimulus fatigue thing because it's like, you know,
you got to play around with that.
Yeah, because even if you were to even hit the big 3 every week, and you know, for each workout, maybe one was a 9 out of 10 intensity, and then the other one was a 5 out of 10 intensity. That's still hitting that big 3 twice a week. That's a lot, man. So unless your sleep is perfect and you recover great and you're no stress, like which most people aren't, like, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and when I was younger, I was able to do stuff like that, but I was only able to, you know, hit it. And I say it, I was only able to hit, you know, those exercises twice a week at pretty much the same intensity because I was sleeping, you know, 11 hours. I was eating a ton. My recovery was extremely optimized. Like now, I have to check my ego a lot of the times because I try to train like I did whenever I was like that, and there's literally no way. You know, I'm not trying to get fat. I can't sleep as much.
Yeah.
So
you know what I think part of that is too is I think when you're younger, of course your recovery is better, but I think you don't have the skill in stone, so I think you have a lot of junk volume.
That's what I was about to say too.
I think there's a lot of moving for the sake of moving. So like, you know, when I first started bodybuilding, whatever, like 17, it was push-pull legs, Monday through Saturday. So 1 day off, 6-day split.
Yeah.
And I remember each muscle group I was trying to hit at least 10 sets per workout of each muscle group. So if I'm going push-pull legs, that's essentially 30 sets of every body part twice a week. Yeah. Well, I remember my first show when I was really trying to bring my back up, I was doing 20 sets of back twice a week. So I was doing 40 sets of back a week when I was like 4 weeks out from a show like an idiot. But a lot of it's junk volume, man. Well, and it's just it's super.
By junk volume, you're saying not using
wasted energy, wasted movement. Yeah, essentially just. And when I say it, like inefficient, you know. And so now I'm training. You know, I just told you my split. I'll train back once a week, and I'm doing maybe 8 working sets, maybe. And for biceps, I'm doing maybe 2 to 3 working sets on that day. So it's just, I think it's
And your progress has been way better.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's an efficiency thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that's most overlooked. So people want to look for the best training split, and I don't think that's the case. I think the best training split is going to be whatever works for you, coupled with getting good at the exercises you pick within that split.
Yeah, those two are very freaking important.
One of the worst things I think you can do as someone who's trying to get stronger or build muscle or, improve your physique, whatever you want to call it, I think one of the worst things you can do is have too big of a pool for exercises.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need to do the same thing every workout. I think it's maybe a little more efficient if you do. But, if you have 10 different exercises for your chest, what's the chance that you're doing any of them well?
Yeah,
versus
because you're not getting good at what you should be getting good at.
Yeah, and if you have 2 exercises, it's like, oh, well, you better make them count.
Yeah.
Right? You better really connect. You better be sure that there's something that's there and that matters.
Yeah. It's no longer just, moving on or doing one exercise and going, I got 9 different ones. Like, let me just get through this one so I can get to the next.
Right.
If you have 2, it's like, okay, I got this one. Let me put my all into it. Let me make sure that I'm actually doing this correctly with the right intention, and then I'll move on to the next one
and take it to the rink. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
exactly,
if you know, like, let's say I'm going into a chest workout that I know I'm doing 20 sets in. Well, I can't go to failure in my first set.
Yeah.
If I do go to failure, the rest of the workout's toast.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah. I almost feel
you're
like
gonna hold yourself back.
I almost feel like that early stage where you have all that junk volume is almost like, I don't want to say learning, but like you're figuring out what you really need to be doing.
Well, it sucks because, you say figuring out, but I know if it wasn't for you, I'd still be lifting that way. And that's just because it never crossed my mind to lift correctly.
Sure.
Whenever I would lift with my whole body. Like, I don't know if you've seen me do dumbbell curls or something like that. I can grab, the 120s, and I actually used to do this.
Yeah.
I would curl with the 120s,
you're just fucking,
it'll be like this.
You're hip thrusting.
Yeah, and I would never have, actual sore biceps.
Yeah, you're doing one of my buddies calls them shot put curls.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
That's exactly what it was, and I would even have to wear straps to actually hold on to the dumbbells.
Yeah.
But now, after, and I don't know if this is just because, watching your content and seeing like how intentional you are with your lifting. And one thing that also did help me was you specifying the rep ranges for whatever goals that you have. And the rep range that I found was good for me was 12 reps.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now when I do those 12 reps and I do it with intention, if I'm doing bicep curls, it's specifically for biceps.
Yeah.
It's not for like my forearms. It's not for my shoulders.
Yeah.
It's not for my lats.
Yeah.
The next day, like my biceps are sore.
Yeah.
And when I do lat pull downs, I can actually feel soreness in my upper back, which is so funny to say because that should be obvious.
Right.
But it wasn't.
And it's such an interesting conversation to have because, as bodybuilders, powerlifters, fitness people, just humans in general, we like to have like a tangible thing, right? And so we write down, 100 pounds for 10 reps.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if that 100 pounds for 10 reps on your dumbbell curls was actually your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, your upper back, and your
Exactly.
forearms?
I never thought about it like that.
Versus your 20 pounds for 10 reps that was just your biceps.
Mm-hmm.
How do you equate what's more efficient? In my opinion, you want to pick the lower weight every time. Number 1 for your joints, number 2 for efficiency, but number 3 just for measurable progress. Because it's like, man, you have to qualify what a rep is before you can quantify what a rep is.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're all different or if they're all momentum and swinging, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
None of it matters, So I think it's one of those things that it's like you have to be very aware of your movement patterns. Was it an ego thing for you? Was it a not knowing thing?
Yeah. Well, I guess at first it wasn't really an ego thing. At first it was because I thought that that's what I needed to do to get strong. And I honestly think that it did help me get strong to an extent. Because whenever I did...
Till something snaps.
Yeah, but thankfully, nothing did snap. Whenever I did do exercises that way, I would focus on so if I'm doing curls, I would cheat curl it up, but then I'd focus on whatever this is called. Eccentric.
Mm-hmm.
I'd focus on that, and that, that would help me, or at least I thought that would help me when it came to strength, because, I was still kind of focusing and using that on the way down. But, now I can't do that because I have to be efficient with my workouts, because I'm not, sleeping that amount of time. I'm not eating that amount of calories. I can't get away with what I could get away with back then.
Right.
Now I have to be very intentional with what I'm hitting, why I'm hitting it, and what benefit it's actually going to provide for me.
Right.
Because right now, I could grab the 100-pound dumbbells.
And just swing away.
But if I'm trying to get, better looking biceps or more functional biceps, what is that going to do for me?
Well, and that's the question.
Nothing.
And that's the question is, it's like, why would you grab the 100-pound dumbbells?
Exactly.
There's no other reason aside feeding your ego.
Yeah, and that's my thought now. You said choosing between the 100-pound dumbbells or the 20-pound dumbbells. Mm-hmm. I can promise you, my biceps would get way more work grabbing the 20-pound dumbbells than it would the 100 pounds. I could do 10 sets of 15 with the 100-pound dumbbells versus 5 sets of 10 with the 20-pound dumbbells, and my biceps would be shot from the 20-pound dumbbells, and I'd still probably be able to do more sets with the 100 pounds.
That's a
so
great
it's like,
point, man.
what is it even doing?
Yeah, 100%. And so then it becomes, you're exactly right. What is it even doing?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, one of the most important things in whatever training split you pick, whatever training method you pick, whatever your goals are, like, man, you've got to check your ego at the door.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. And for me, that's always been a little bit easier because I've always been a smaller guy, and I've never been crazy strong.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, I would say one genetic thing I got is I've always squatted efficiently and done lower body exercise efficiently, but I would never classify myself as like naturally strong.
Yeah.
So I just never, like, even with shitty technique, I wasn't moving a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And, the shitty technique wasn't working for me. I was swinging around my dumbbell lateral raises. I was doing barbell overhead presses, and my shoulders wouldn't grow until I was like, oh, wait, I got to do a cable lateral raise. It's actually an efficient exercise, and I got to learn how to lock my scaps in and drive my palms out. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. Some people call it overcomplicating and reinventing the wheel. It's like, but
I thought that's what it is, but it's not.
I mean, fucking, that's what people said when they went from a flip phone to an Apple iPhone. You know what I mean? Is it's like, well, it just makes calls, and it's like, is that true? It's a computer in your pocket now, so it's like, you just move the weight and get the result, and it's like, no, dude, that's stupid.
I think
if you're a genetic freak, maybe.
Yeah, but and then, are you a genetic freak?
Probably not. Probably not.
I know one thing for me is I was just lazy. I was ignoring the fact that hey, if I do want to get way better and have a huge edge on my powerlifting competitors, I should probably pay attention to the exercises that I'm doing and do them correctly. Yeah. Or else, what the hell am I doing? Like, I was actually talking about this with a buddy. His name is Jonathan.
Shout out Jonathan.
Shout out Jonathan. He's really, it's really, really easy to work hard as hell with, 5 sets of dumbbells, with 100 pounds or something like that, and just BS the whole thing. At the end of the day, it's really easy because you're relying on adrenaline and you're in the now. You're not looking, however many months down the road to grow your biceps. But if you're looking at, using those 20 pounds right now and being intentional with those biceps, your bicep curls, and then 3 days later hitting it again with maybe 25 pounds, and again using specifically your biceps, in the long run the growth is going to be so much better, and that's just because you're paying attention to the long run.
The cool thing too is you save your body, man.
Yeah,
you save your body. Like, I remember trying to force myself to flat bench press for a long time, and I have a tiny rib cage, man. So the flat barbell bench press is just not made for me. And I would and I would try to force myself to just be bouncing weight off my chest, and I would just try my hardest, and I would say that was maybe the one thing I did ego lift on a bit, and that was, I've impinged my left shoulder 3 times as a flat bench every time.
Really?
Every time.
Damn.
Every single time. Left shoulder twice.
See, I don't even know what impinge is.
Right shoulder twice, left shoulder once. Something gets in the wrong spot. It's not a serious injury. I wouldn't even call it an injury, but it'll take you out for a little bit. It's kind of like in the bursitis, tendonitis world.
Gotcha.
But no, man, it's just one of those things where it's like, if you can learn to check your ego at the door, you can get so much more out of so much less,
Mm-hmm.
and you can make so much more progress. And it's like, why? I just don't understand like why you wouldn't, like, other than to feed your
ego, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And so long time ago, I taught a boot camp, and I'll probably never do group fitness again.
Mm-hmm.
But long time ago, I taught a boot camp, and in that boot camp, there was, I don't know, like 6 or 7 women and 6 or 7 guys. It was like a 5 a.m. boot camp before work kind of thing. And there's this guy in there, and it would like infuriate him when one of the women would lift heavier than he would. And the guy just like wasn't in great shape, just like normal average Joe. And like, he wasn't even a mean guy. You could just tell like it shot his ego. Yeah. You could just tell. And it's like, you know, and so those people, you know, when you're doing a 5 a.m. camp, like it's very consistent. Like people are always there because if it's 5 a.m., it's the only time they can. Mm-hmm. And so those people are pretty adamant about showing up. And it's like, man, if you would have just ate your pride and let it go and just not thought about it, we could have made the progress and we could have gotten you there. But the dude was too obsessed with having to grab a heavier dumbbell, having to do more reps.
Oh, come on.
You know the important thing to keep in mind too that really
pisses me off? Real quick, I say that, but I'm that exact same person. I don't get like, I don't resent the other person at all, but I'm like, okay, let me see if I can do this.
Yeah, for sure. But it was just like it was a thing where the dude wasn't willing to take a step back and do the work. You know, you got to crawl before you run.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. Something
that's going to entertain you. This actually happened last week. Okay. I finally got over the ego lifting when it comes to my bench.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen my bench. Whenever I bench, I come down really fast and then it like drops on my chest and then I throw it up. Yeah. And I was able to do that as a big boy.
It's pretty standard powerlifting thing, I would say.
Yeah. It shouldn't be, but it is.
But yeah, it's common.
Yeah, so, now that I lost all that weight, it's a lot more of a drop.
Yeah.
And I can't really throw it up. So, the past year I've been trying to, keep on doing it. And finally I was like, okay, let me just, take a step back.
Yeah.
Let me chill with
reevaluate.
Bench. Yeah. And actually do it correctly. So I've been practicing, staying tight and doing a correct bench.
Yeah.
So this is going to sound so stupid. Last week was like really the first time that I was ever like actually trying to bench good.
Yeah.
That was the first time in my life that I felt my chest get sore from bench.
Yeah.
And that is so silly, but
so it's so funny that you say that. So one of my favorite things to do to challenge people, and I don't think you could say that this is better for the exercise in particular, other than developing the skill of that exercise, which is better for that exercise. But I'm not saying you get bonus points for this as far as muscle growth goes or strength development goes, but pausing and end ranges.
Pausing
and end ranges. So if that bar is on your chest and you take 2 seconds to press it off your chest, so if you lower down 1, 2, and then press, where's your momentum going to come from? Where's your swinging going to come from? Where's your bounce going to come from?
There literally can't be none.
100%. One of the biggest steps I take with online clients that everybody says just kicks their ass is taking their walking lunges from standard walking lunges to pausing for 2 seconds in the bottom of each stride.
I would hate you.
You pause in the bottom of your stride. You pause in the bottom of your squat. You pause in the bottom of your press.
Okay,
and it'll change the way you execute the exercise. It'll change the way you feel it. And suddenly you're like, why is this so much harder? And it's like, it's still the same thing. Well, it's so much harder because it exposes where you're weak. It exposes your imbalance. It exposes that you can't stabilize in that bottom position, And so same idea there with your bench press. Like, imagine the difference, and I don't know now that you've been practicing the better technique, but, let's say when you're a big boy and you're bouncing it off your stomach and everything, like, what do you think your weight difference would be in your barbell bench press for 1 rep if you did 1 rep versus if you did 1 rep with a 2-second pause in your chest?
I think it would be massive.
Yeah, and so you think about it like, okay, maybe it should be different just because it's hard to pause like that, but should it be, 100 pounds different like it would be? I don't think so. Like, it's pretty exposing.
Oh, yeah. It's 100% exposing because whenever I did do it, the way that I usually do it, the kind of bouncing a little bit, I usually did pause, but if you looked at the video, there was like a little bounce where I could capture that momentum. Sure. I was able to bench 565. Yeah. But whenever I did, the pause, like right on your chest, not letting it sink at all, I was doing 405 for a couple reps, tops.
Yeah.
And now
that's 100 pounds different. That's 150 pounds different, man.
Yeah, like I can throw it up now and, you know, get 4 or 5 for a couple reps. But if I do the barely touch and then press correctly, I can get a couple reps with 315.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is we're sitting here talking about like literally a 1 sec difference. That's 1 second difference for a 100-pound weight difference.
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's like if it's that exposing, like, geez, man.
Exactly.
You know, and it's different. It's sport specific. Like, you know, in your squat, you don't have to pause at the bottom. So like, use your momentum. Like, if you want to be a world champion, you kind of have to. But if we're just talking about like developing movement patterns, building muscle, being as efficient as you can, being safe with your exercise, like pause in the end ranges, man. It'll change the game. It'll change the game.
Yeah, and it really helps with the stability muscles, which you want to talk about injury prevention.
Yeah.
Like, that is really important because imagine whenever you do decide to, you know, go to the bigger weights and those things aren't, you know, ready to stabilize at, you know, whatever part you're struggling with, then you're gonna tear something.
Well, and injury, yeah, you're exactly right. Injury typically happens when there's a what's their way to put it? When there's an extreme change in direction,
like that.
Yeah. And so that's why, like, you know, if a bodybuilder tears his pec on a bench press, knock on wood, it's at that bottom position. Yeah, it's at that bottom position. And, you know, there's different ways it can happen, but like, you know, usually a bicep tear happens on a deadlift right off the ground. Why? Because they go from dead stop to yank, which maybe is a little bit different, but like, you get what I'm saying. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. So I feel like we haven't talked about training splits at all, more so just form and technique.
Yeah, I know, man.
So
you want to go back to training splits?
No, man. Let's wrap it up here, and then maybe we can save some deeper dives on training splits for the next one. But I think that was good, man. Yeah, you gotta qualify your reps before you quantify them.
Yeah, super important.
To count. So thank you all for watching PTC Cast episode 6. We appreciate you. If you have any comments or questions or political views, religious ideologies,
we talked about this last time, man.
In the comment section below. Thank you all for watching.